What does Sean Diddy Combs' surprising verdict mean for him, for justice, and for the survivors? Because what happened in the courtroom didn't close the case. It made it crack wide open. After months of flooding allegations, years of whispers, and a thrilling courtroom showdown, the jury has spoken. But their verdict? It's complicated. Diddy walked out not as guilty, but also not as innocent. And this indecision has set off a legal and cultural firestorm. A juror's statement slamming the process, public backlash on social media, and survivors asking just one question: where's the justice? What does it look like when the system seems split? So, in this video, we are breaking it down. What exactly was in the verdict, and why did it stun so many legal analysts? Why is one juror speaking out against the outcome? How are the fans and critics reacting, and will Diddy's brand survive? And finally, what does this tell us about celebrity trials, influence, and accountability in America? Stay till the end to discover why even a split jury shook U.S. courts, and what it teaches us about celebrity cases in the legal system. This isn't just a scandal, it's a turning point. Diddy was on trial for shady dealings, an illicit trafficking ring, money laundering, and 2 charges against operations moving people across states into lives they never chose. This makes a total of 5 felony counts. All felonies combined suggested the potential for a life sentence. Among these, the dealings and trafficking alone were serious offenses, but Diddy was discharged from these charges. This means that the jury didn't believe that there was solid evidence that Diddy led or profited from any hidden operations tied to exploitation. But he wasn't fully cleared. The jury got him on 2 counts, both related to transporting individuals for unlawful acts. These charges fall under the Mann Act, a federal law against transporting people across state lines for illegal activity. However, the court that the judge is expected to announce a multi-year sentence for Diddy. Meanwhile, Diddy remains in custody. Despite the outcomes, the trial was intense. Over 34 witnesses testified against Diddy. Cassie Ventura, his former partner, gave emotional and disturbing testimony, which reportedly had a significant impact on the courtroom. She described the disturbing descriptions of manipulation and alleged criminal behavior within Diddy's circle. Jury deliberation lasted just under 2 days. This is a short time for such high-profile and complex charges. And this is one reason why legal analysts are debating whether the decision was a true reflection of evidence, or a sign of the challenges in prosecuting celebrity cases with national media pressure. Legally, some crimes saved Diddy from prison. But the 2 questionable cross-state dealings, they were offenses carrying potential life sentences. So the real question is, regardless of the verdicts, how much do the unresolved allegations affect the court's final judgment? The next phase? A fight for years, not freedom. As the verdict surfaced across the headlines, a new perspective emerged from the courtroom. In response to the worldwide clash, one juror broke the protocol and spoke directly to the public. He responded that their decision was based on evidence and law. He insisted that they did what they would do with any accused, suggesting that fame had nothing to do with this case. This one sentence caused a stir across talk shows and social media. The whole controversy took a different turn. Now the question arose, how could someone as powerful and high-profile as Diddy walk free on misconduct and exploitation charges, while everyday people face life sentences for far less?
I talked to Sean. He's thankful, he's relieved, and he thanks the jurors. Bail, I think, is besides the point. He was acquitted of the trafficking, he was acquitted of...
But there's another side to this. Maybe the system did work, just not the way the public hoped. There are 2 reasons why this perspective matters. First, the public is reminded that trials are won or lost on proof, not on public opinion. And second, it challenges a recurring theme: fame equals immunity in celebrity legal culture. So, this juror's statement protected the credibility of the judicial system in a case where doubts are always part of the story. But the question is still there. Did Diddy influence his trial? Maybe intentionally? Or maybe subconsciously? Did the jury discriminate in this case? We can't know for sure. But we do know that someone inside that jury panel believes they got it right. And that belief adds a layer of complexity to a verdict already steeped in tension, doubt, and moral weight. Outside the court, the energy was dynamic, but divided as well. On one side, the Let Puffy Go campaign went crazy in support of P. Diddy. For them, this was vindication, a constant reminder that prosecutors couldn't make the most serious charges stick. Some even claimed that it was a win against media hysteria. They celebrated what they saw as a refusal to convict based on public narrative alone. Nevertheless, the digital war zone was louder and far messier. Reddit, Twitter, Threads, and almost every platform erupted with outrage. Advocates of the survivors, legal activists, and others questioned the authority, reliance, and fairness of the American justice system. The question? Was Diddy's acquittal a failure of evidence? Or was it a failure in truly understanding power dynamics, coercion, and survivor trauma? Even the celebrities were split. Rapper 50 Cent posted a viral Instagram story, "Diddy beat Rio." While some took it as typical hip-hop bravado, others slammed the post as tone-deaf given the sensitive nature of the case. And then came the media's reckoning. On the other side, it is argued that the trial was flawed. It is also suggested that the legal system can't correctly handle domestic problems, especially the cases involving coercive control, emotional manipulation, and long-term psychological trauma. Even when the stories align with known patterns of abuse, the kind of hard proof that the juries expect isn't so simple as black or white. Despite that, acquittals matter too. The system is based on the principle of innocent until guilty, and must adhere to solid evidence. However, this doesn't mean that nothing surely happened. It just means that the evidence wasn't enough. The tension between the two truths, legal thresholds and lived experiences, is exactly what's fueling this fire. But there's still one haunting question. What does accountability look like when power, pain, and public image collide? This trial didn't just deliver a verdict, it revealed the loopholes and flaws where law, power, and trauma meet. It exposed just how fragile the systems are when we try to investigate them. Let's talk about one of the hardest legal distinctions: consent versus coercion. In cases like this, the question isn't always, was there the issue? Sometimes it's about, was there freedom? Survivors may agree to something, apparently, but maybe they are struggling through manipulation, emotional dependency, and financial traps. For example, the emotional testimony of Ventura included allegations that spanned years, not just moments. What she described was a relationship shaped by control, blurred boundaries, and intimidation, and somehow those suggestive stories didn't lead to convictions on any offense. Why? Because the physical, documented, and recorded proof isn't there. But the burden of proof remains incredibly high, even when survivor testimony is vivid and consistent. Which brings us to the legal system's limits. The RICO law, often used to take down organized crime, is tough to prove. And criminal organizations are notoriously difficult to prove. Prosecutors have to show an enterprise, a pattern of activity, and Diddy's role as an orchestrator. That's a steep hill to climb, especially against a defense team that knows how to dismantle reasonable doubt. But it wasn't all about the courtroom. Celebrity influence played its own subtle role. Public scrutiny often assumes fame protects people like Diddy, but the jurors' decision to speak out flipped that narrative. Their comments suggested the jury was hyper-aware of bias and made a point to decide based on evidence alone. Still, the concerns are there. Does fame insulate the powerful from full accountability? What do we expect justice to look like? How do we weigh personal testimony against legal definitions? And how should we process verdicts that are legally sound but emotionally unsatisfying? This isn't just about Diddy. It's about how our courts handle stories of pain, power, and survival, and whether the truth always fits neatly into a courtroom, win, or loss. Because sometimes, even when a trial ends, the real reckoning is only getting started. In a nutshell, Sean Diddy Combs walked away with a mixed verdict. He got acquitted on the most serious charges, convicted on 2 others. World's opinions, well, they are divided. A juror stepped forward to defend the decision. He insisted it was rooted in evidence, not fame. But the public reaction? Fiercely split. Some saw justice. Others saw power winning again. But underneath the headlines, this trial became something bigger. A real-time lesson in how our legal system handles coercion, celebrity, and survivor testimony. It makes us wonder about what really matters when everything is in a gray zone. How do we judge the truth and the weight of the evidence in cases like this? No matter what side you're on, the outcome forces us to confront uncomfortable truths. What do you think? Did Diddy get justice, or did fame tip the scales? Leave your thoughts below. Hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Because in stories like this, the verdict is just the beginning.